Y'all, it's a sad day. We officially got our first frost. Which means it's time for garden clean out. So garden clean out is not something that I do right when the first frost hits. I try to do this throughout the whole season, because obviously if a plant dies, it's gonna need pulled. We're not just gonna leave a dead plant in the garden. But because we did get our first frost, and obviously when you get a frost, everything is officially, it's just gonna die at this point. So now that we've gotten our first frost, now it's definitely time to pull all our plants, clean out the garden, and prepare it for next spring. So in this video, I'm just gonna walk you guys through what we do, how we do it, and what garden clean out looks like for us. So I hope you enjoy this video. So it's been a couple weeks since our first frost, and we've actually had a couple more frosts since then. Obviously, pretty much every other day, it's been just like a frost, a light one, heavy one. Just this morning we had a very heavy frost. But just yesterday, we had snow actually for the first time, so that's fun. But yeah, everything's definitely dead. So today I'm gonna walk you through these two beds. We had onions, garlic, and then green beans in here were the last thing. So I'm gonna show you what we do to clean out the garden beds and what that looks like. I already cleaned out the main garden, which I will walk you through, but I figured we'll do these two beds just to give you a more hands-on tutorial on what it looks like to clean out a garden bed and the method that we use here on our homestead. So the first step is obviously going to be pulling all of the plants out of the remaining beds. And these are beans, so these come up relatively easy. You can see they're done. They're all brown and gross and just ready to go. So we're just going to pull all of these plants out. There's actually some leftover garlic or onions in here, so we'll leave those, because they may come up next year. Garden clean out is not the most fun. It's actually kind of sad for me, at least, because it's like, it's the end of the season, you know? Like, nobody, as a gardener, it's sad. It's a sad time of year. It's the end of a season, but, you know, I'm looking forward to next year. Not looking forward to winter. I don't like winter at all. It's cold, and it's just you sit inside because you can't go outside as much. There's no gardening. Not my favorite, but I'll try to keep busy. But yeah, I'm excited about next year. This year was kind of an experience year for me. I tried out some new plants that I'd never tried before. Tested some new ways to do garden beds. Like we did the squash garden, which you can see those chickens are just ripping it up now. We did the squash garden, and that worked actually pretty well, and I was pleased with that. So I'm gonna do that again, but I'm gonna grow some different squash this year, because those ones I found, like, yeah, they worked, but we didn't use them as much as I would have liked to. So next year, I'm basically going to grow everything that we definitely need and definitely will use. So this year was kind of an experience year for me. I tested out a lot of new seeds, a lot of new flowers and plants that I've never grown before. Found some that I hate and some that I like. So definitely going to grow the ones that I like again. There's no sense wasting space on something that you're not going to use, that you don't enjoy growing. that you don't enjoy eating. No sense growing something that's just gonna waste your space. Use all the space that you can, growing the things that you want, the things that you love, the things that you enjoy. Whether it be enjoyed to eat or just enjoyed to look at. Whatever that is to you, I recommend growing those things over the things that you don't like. Now granted, every gardener may say, grow tomatoes, grow tomatoes. What if you don't like tomatoes? What if you're like me, you don't like eating raw tomatoes? Don't grow tomatoes then. If it is not something that you like, something that you enjoy, no sense wasting space. Just because everybody else grows it doesn't mean you have to. Grow what you want, people. It's your garden, it's your space. Be creative and fill it with everything that you desire. That's my message. But I experimented with a lot of new plants, a lot of new flowers, I'll say this. And I noticed with the flowers, there's some plants that don't do good, at least in my area. So with that in mind, I'm not going to grow those again next year. You learn from experience. With what I grew in mind for next year, I'm going to move some of the plants I grew that I liked. I'm going to plant them again, but I'm going to move them in beds because I noticed in the beds that I put them in, let's just say the snapdragons. I put the snapdragons in between two sets of cosmos. Those snapdragons did not get tall enough, in my opinion, I think, because those cosmos took over the bed and it kind of smothered them. So with that in mind, there's a couple other plants that I planted just like that I'm going to take and plant them all in a bed. The stuff that grew lower that I think could get taller, I'm going to plant those in the same bed. That way we can just experiment with that. See how that does next year. See if snapdragons and coxcomb or something, I don't really know. See if those grow well together, because I noticed that a lot of the stuff got kind of choked out by the other plants, but that was honestly all because of placement and what I decided and where I decided to put them. So learn from experience. There's definitely some things I'm going to switch up, things I'm going to change, and I think it'll better my garden for next year. So I cleaned out this entire bed. Now granted, there are some weeds, a little bit of weeds. There are also some sprouts. I don't know if it's garlic or onions. I think it might be garlic. But pulled all the beans. That was my main concern. Now that first step when it comes to garden cleanup, pull your plants, pull your weeds. If it's dead, if it's done, get rid of it. There's no sense leaving it in there and wasting space that you can use for something else. Whether that be mid-garden season and you are cleaning out your garden, that's okay. If a plant dies, pull it out as soon as it dies. If it's dead, it's done. So get rid of it. Now you can put something else there that you wanted to grow. That's my best advice. So, clean out your garden beds. Get rid of any weeds or extra plants that have just died off, and they're done. I recommend waiting until the frost when it comes to late in the season. Once that frost hits, you know everything's done. It's dead, it's over. So then that's a good judgment period for me to say, okay, now we clean out the garden. Because then after that, then it's like, okay, winter prep, it's on. So, clean out the garden beds. But the next step is overwintering them so you don't have to pull weeds next year. Let me show you what I mean. Y'all see that? Leaves. This is how we're going to overwinter our garden. This, and also our grass. Let me tell you what I mean. Now, I've probably talked about this before on our channel, but when it comes to overwintering, we like to chop our grass, bag it. That's huge. Bag your grass. It's very important. This is a permaculture plan. If you're interested in that, if you've heard of us talk about it before, we are huge on permaculture, using what you have and not letting things go to waste. This is very important. So this is a permaculture plan. If you mow your grass and you don't bag, what are you doing? In my opinion. If you mow your grass and you're blowing, that grass, yes, I think it does compost and it may help your yard. I think. I've never blown grass before, so don't get me wrong, never done it. But if you bag your grass, you can use that for a multitude of things. Bagging your grass can be taken and put into your compost pile, which then will create rich soil that you can take and apply to your garden, which then will benefit you and your plants with more nutrients in your soil and allow more of a prolific harvest for the coming year. But another thing, you can also bag it, give it to your chickens. Your chickens can dig through it. That's a bunch of bugs, bunch of whatever's in there, your chickens will find it. But what we like to do is throughout the whole year, and I'm not saying just over winter, whenever it's cold and, you know, after the frost. I'm not saying that. We do this all year round. Chop your grass, bag it. Take the grass and apply it around the plants that you have planted. This keeps down the weeds around your plants, making it better for you because you don't have to weed, but it also makes it better for your plants because it's not choking it out. And it's beneficial to the soil. Over time, those leaves and that grass are going to decompose and just add more and more richer nutrients to your soil. So this, in my opinion, is a great way. It benefits your garden, and I do this every year. It works for us, and it's the best method that I found so far. So let me show you the garden that we already did, and then I'll show you putting the leaves on the beds that we just weeded. So this is the main garden after it's been weeded, cleaned, and covered in leaves. So here's an example. Through this whole year, we have been applying grass. Look at this. Applying grass to our plants. And look at it already. It's already decomposing and turning into compost. Up top, you have your more newer stuff, which is leaves. Okay? So, we do about, when it comes to overwintering, you can do, honestly, a pretty thick amount. So here's the leaves. So you can see all the way down here is your soil. We did about 1 inch or 2 of leaves, maybe 3 inches of leaves. Leaf mulch I prefer. If you do leaf mulch, you're gonna have to reapply because once rain hits this, or if there's any heavy, it'll sink down. So when you put it on, it'll be all fluffy, like way up to here, and you'll be like, yes, that's so much. But then once it rains and it starts to decompose, it'll pack down and weeds will start to pop through eventually. So, leaf mulch and, look at that. That's beautiful. Leaf mulch and grass mulch. You can see here, this is some older stuff. Here's a big weed. I'm not saying this, ooh, did y'all see that? I just got the whole root of that dandelion. That is like, as a gardener, that brings me joy. I'm gonna be honest. So, you're gonna have to keep putting this on. And honestly, whenever it comes time to plant, what we do, we take a spot, dig it out. Look, this is layers of this stuff. You can see the more composted stuff right here at the bottom. And this is adding to our soil. We put this leaf mulch on last winter. When it comes time for spring and it's time to plant, we don't have to pull any weeds because this leaf mulch has kept the bed completely covered. The sun has not been able to germinate the weed seeds, and weed seeds have not been able to pop up. I am not saying that this is going to keep out all of your weeds. That's not what I'm saying. But this is going to immensely lessen the garden work that you had to do compared to what you will have to do now. But in the spring, what we do is we will just make a circle that we will plant our seed or our plant in. If it is a seed, we do a large sized hole. If it's a plant, we'll just dig a hole, apply some dirt around the edges, and we'll plant it. When you're planting and you have this on your beds, if you're planting seeds, make a big enough hole. That way the leaves do not fall on top of it and kill your sprout, stop your seed from germinating, because just like the weed seed, the sun is not able to reach it, and it's going to bake your seed and just kill it immediately. So, if you're planting seeds, keep that in mind. If you're doing plants, if your plants are a couple inches tall, if they're a foot tall, you really got to look at the size and the height of the plant, also the type of plant. If it's a decently sized plant, let's just say a tomato plant, and we're talking 5 inches tall, I will plant that and leave a small opening around that tomato plant just so it has enough room to grow. Now, after that, I'll start putting leaves around it. Not a heavy amount, just a light amount, just to keep the weeds from popping up. After so long, the plant has been fully established, then we start to apply the grass. Because it's not fall, we're not picking up the leaf mulch anymore. We'll put the grass around the plants, and then it'll be completely covered, and your weeds will be less of a chore than they were before. Alright, so I've got my leaves. This is my bed that I just weeded. These are full leaves. In reality, I would prefer these to be chopped up, just mowed, but because of the frost we got, and it's just been rather cold, the grass is wet, and I can't really mow whenever it's wet because it'll just get stuck in the bagger. So whole leaves work just as well. So if you want to blow or bag, this works great. Okay, so we take our leaves, which I have located over here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to place them on top. And what you want to do is you just want to cover the bed as much as you can. I have more leaves for demonstration purposes. I'm not going to blow all of them over here today, but I'm just going to cover a bit of the bed just to show y'all what we're talking about here. So, I have placed about, because it's up off the ground, it's fluffy, about 1 inch. That's what it is now. Once it gets wet, starts to lay flat, then it's not going to be as high. So, taking this into consideration, if you have leaves, if you have grass, I recommend this method for your garden beds. It's good for the soil, it's using what you have and not letting things go to waste. And it's just, honestly, it's going to help you with less weeds as well. So, if this helped you out, please give this video a like. And if you want to see more videos from us, subscribe. We post every single week here on the channel. And if you have any questions, if you have any questions about this method or about other things, leave a comment underneath this video or underneath other videos, and we will respond to you as soon as we can. But for now, garden season, it's over for 2023. It's been good. We're looking forward to next year. New experiences, new experimenting with plants. And we hope you guys stick around for the journey, because we plan on bringing you along for all of the garden updates into next year. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see y'all in the next one.